Hello, writers. I hope that we are all building our visions on this vision workshop. Hi, Ted. How are you? Happy Monday.
I'm doing well. Happy Monday to you.
Yeah. So, okay, let's remind everybody what we're talking about and what we have spoken about before we get into today.
So we've been talking about vision the last couple of weeks, just the idea that we really are urging you to root yourself in some level of vision. And when we say that, the outcome of that is that you start making life decisions, business decisions around the type of life that you're trying to create and live versus just chasing the next client, chasing the next position, chasing the next paycheck, et cetera, et cetera. And like, we really want fulfillment and prosperity for everybody. And I believe that could come by the way of creating a vision for yourself. So we've talked about legacy. I talk about these 5 pillars when talking about vision now to give people context instead of just saying, hey, write down a vision. That cheapens the idea that you're actually going to live a life that's rooted in a vision. So we talked about legacy in week number 1. We then talked about values, creating values, and how you spend your time in week number 2 in very practical ways, not just like, hey, I want to spend more time with family, but like, have you really considered your gifts, right? And how you want to spend time, things that light you up in your workday. And then last week we got into this very complex topic, which is money. And it's an emotional topic. It's complex. We're all getting into business to make money. That's factual. And so we have to have more discussion around this idea of money. And then today, the last pillar, I'll be honest with you, there's not a whole lot to say about this last pillar. And in some ways it's cliche, but it's important. And the last pillar is what I've called belly laughs and dreams. And the belly laughs is just under that umbrella, like, in cliche terms, enjoy the ride. Are you enjoying the ride? Life is a journey. We said on the first week that we talked about this idea of vision. Far too many people, when creating a vision, they're thinking future state. And when I'm working with people on vision, I'm talking about, no, tomorrow. Like, how are you going to be living tomorrow? That this whole thing comes to fruition by, the time that we're not going to be here anymore. And so the belly laughs came from a true happening for me about 7 years ago. I was coaching a gentleman that was building up a business here in Baltimore and having wild success. And he was amped about it. And we were having lunch in downtown Baltimore, and he's explaining all the success that he had. He was a brick and mortar type business, and he had opened his 3rd shop. And it was rolling. But he was busy. He was married. He had 2 young kids. And about midway through the lunch, maybe 3/4 through the lunch, I just leaned over. We'll just call him Jim. And I said, Jim, when's the last time that you had a belly laugh? Well, within 2 minutes, Jim was crying, right? And he was flying through, and he was having success. And so the reason I say this is just slowing down. If you've ever heard the adage, don't get so busy building a career that you forget to build a life. That's all this last pillar is. It's just a reminder that on the solopreneur journey, there will be difficult times. There will be times that you have to work a 60-hour work week, et cetera, et cetera. But I need to make sure that you're checking in with yourself and making sure that you're enjoying the ride and having belly laughs, right? Sometimes we get so focused, so fearful, as we've talked about in the past, that we get so laser focused that we do not do what that adage says. We're building a career and a business, but we're not building a life, which is why I've saved this to the last pillar. After you're doing all this stuff, this is just that jab to say life is meant to be enjoyed. And, I gave a talk last year to a company that, talks about grind all the time. We grind it out. And I said, man, and I got on stage and I was adamant, man, I hate the word grind, and life should not be a grind. And so that's the belly laughs part. The dreams part may seem, I want you to dream, and I want you to dream big, but I want the dreams to have purpose. I want the dreams to have meaning. I want the dreams to line up with the values. And this is where this whole thing becomes the ball of wax, the vision. There needs to be an intersection between each one of these pillars, right? And I said on the first, when I started talking about money, I haven't talked about money for a long time, but I've had dreams come true in my own life, right? And you and I, prior to the call, we were chatting a little bit, just catching up. And one of the dreams that came to fruition for me was I was able to build a beach house for my family. And but that was rooted in values. It wasn't just like, hey, I'm going to go get a beach house, right? It wasn't like I can check off the box. I got a beach house and I can talk about it at happy hours that I got a beach house. Like, honest to God, on my father's grave, that doesn't mean a hill of beans to me. You know what it means, a hill of beans to me? Is that I can put my wife and my 2 kids in, and I have concentrated time away from the everyday life for as long as I want. 1. 2, it was a dream of my wife's, Angel's. And I was able to make that come true. Like, that's an emotional connection to this dream, but it is absolutely tied to what I talked about last week, money. I had to go make a considerable amount of money to make that dream come true.
Yeah.
And so you start to see how when I talk about these 5 pillars, I want them all to kind of come in together and start to see the intersection between all of them. But I surely want people to have belly laughs. I surely want people to start dreaming. And then I want them to start to consider the other buckets. What kind of money do I need to make this dream? Like, I have a dream bucket. I have a college fund bucket. But the dream bucket is what I had that eye on that prize for several years for this beach house. And that drove decisions. So you'll start to see the yin and the yang of all these pillars, because, hey, that means that I might have to travel a couple times. So guess what? I got to go back to my wife, which I should have said this somewhere along the line. When you're creating this vision, you got to pull in the ones that you live with and the people that you're closest to, because I say, Angel, when I travel, I make money, more money. And so are we adamant that we want this beach house because next year I might take 6 more trips. And then I see how it all.
It's so funny you said that, because while you were talking, I was just thinking that I don't know if this is a pillar, but I think this is a huge consideration that people need to be thinking about when creating vision. And that is people. Like, who are the people around you? Like, when I think of the people around me, they allow me to have belly laughs. We have fun together, like at work and in personal life, right? Like, I want people around me that are joyful. I also want people around me that when I put out my dream and I talk about my big dream, they don't try and pull me down. They never try and pull
absolutely
me and bring me back into their comfort zone of their little area and what they want me to be and do,
absolutely.
I think that people that you have around you, for a lot
it's everything.
It's huge.
It's everything.
Big. And it can be a part of your vision too, like the type of people you want to work with, the type of people you want to write for, the type of people you want to write with, the type of people you want to spend your time with. And even if that is not in your circle right now, they're out there for sure. And when you are, it is amazing how people show up once you call out for them or request or want or desire them to be in your life, and the perfect person that fulfills that role.
Yeah.
And I know it sounds very woo-woo, but I am testament to that it is true. And my other thing would be on the dreams, like I'd say, what is your dream? And then like level it up, go bigger, because so often I think that we put our dreams into like a safe space, right? Like something that we know might have been already a part of our lives, we might have experienced to some degree, and that we feel like we can attain. Like, make your dream unattainable. You know what I mean? Like so big that it seems like, how on earth could I possibly do this? Like, because this is not a goal. This is not your time, your money that we were talking about. This is like that big giant thing. And like, because if I know I've always been a dreamer, which I think is a blessing, because I think if I wasn't, I would not believe that I have the life that I have right now if you told me even 10 years ago.
Yeah.
How is that even going to be possible? How is she going to get there? How is she going to have that? How is she going to because it was so out of what I could even imagine. It was bigger than I could dream for myself.
I absolutely want people dreaming big. And I also want people to tie in the other things. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah. It all comes together.
Yeah, because without the other stuff, again, this is just me talking as a lens of a life and business coach. Some people have meaningless, big dreams.
Yes.
That are rooted in, because the thing that I'd say next, do you own the dream or does somebody else own it?
100%. That's a huge one.
Right. Does your neighbor own it? Does a parent own it? Are
you fulfilling it for somebody else? And what happens as well, Ted? I think once you shift from fulfilling it or putting it out there for somebody else and it becomes yours, you get to it so much faster.
It's true.
Amazing how
it's
it
true.
happens. When it's all for you and it's fueled by your desires and your dreams, you get to it so much quicker. It's crazy.
It's true.
Okay, so this wraps up our vision workshop. I would love to hear people thinking and feeling how this has resonated with them, what they're creating, how they're setting up their vision now that they have this framework. So Ted, thank you so much.
Yeah, I'd love to do some follow up with this stuff, and when we hear back from people how it's resonated, maybe in a month or two, we'll check in on this very topic, since we spent 3 or 4 sessions on it.
Yeah, I love it. Awesome.
Cool.
Thank you so much. We'll see you next week.
Take care.